We probe so that we can basically speed up the way the biology gets down through the root system. So it helps sort of aerate, decompact, and it helps us get a bit of liquid down deeper. The moisture is important because you can't put biology into an environment that it's not going to grow in. So moisture is a very important part of plant healthcare. But really, the thinking is sort of that you also fracture the soil by having the high pressure liquid sort of going out horizontally. But I don't think that really occurs. When you're dealing with really heavily compacted soil, all that happens is you make a hole and the liquid comes back up out of the hole. So really it's a way of sort of getting around the root plate of the tree, making a hole so that we get fluid down deeper. The mycorrhizal spores and stuff like that are more likely to get to the root zone when we do that. But at the same time, in a way, you're kind of compacting as well in a sort of a vertical sense. You're pushing a probe into the ground and it's pushing the soil to the side. So in a way, you sort of, the probing, is sort of doing a little bit of decompaction, but it doesn't fracture the soil horizontally. I don't think that actually happens. I think it's a fallacy. And what also happens too is that we make a hole down through the root plate in the rhizosphere, and then when you pull the hole out, you've allowed oxygen to diffuse into the root system, but you've also made a hole where organic particles and things like that can fall down through that hole, so you're sort of vertical mulching at the same time. Now that we've done our probing around the tree, throughout the root zone, in the tree protection zone area that we've marked out and mulched, now I'm going to give it a good drench. Now we're drenching with Compost tea, which is a biological inoculum, biological concentrate, and because I don't know exactly where my root mass is at this stage, I need to sort of inoculate the whole area. The reason we use we use all different sort of sizes of hoses for different types of applications. Smaller hose for a probe, smaller hose for smaller trees, smaller hose to go long distances and things like that. We also use the big hoses because what we need to be able to do with this sort of material when it's fresh is to be able to put a lot of material down through the mulch as quickly as possible so that we can wet all the particles. If we use a smaller hose, and even if we use a smaller hose with larger volumes of materials, what tends to happen when you've got fresh mulch down like this is the water just, all the treatments that you're doing, they sort of fall down through the particles of the mulch, but they don't wet everything. You get some particles that stay dry, both because it's hydrophobic, but also just the way all the particles are sort of sitting and resting together. So we use the big hose so that I can put big amounts of volumes of material out quite rapidly, so that we can wet all that material. And if we've got moisture on all the material and then we've inoculated it with all microbes, because that's what's going to go out in this situation, then we activate that material and it does its thing, breaks down, and in turn we increase the root mass of the tree, increase the root to shoot ratio, which is really important, and in turn increase the canopy function and health of the tree.